What does he have to hand on? Like how that moves.
Yeah, well, again,
Huh?
I have to be patient. It seems to be a little lag when everything's connected, so it may just be.
Nothing's working. I mean, not even this. Oh, yeah, there.
Like I said, it was.
That's fine. That's
Now it's this is working,
okay.
so that's. All right, so.
Right now Dennis isn't here, so I'm going to introduce, plus I also am a good friend with my speaker. Initially, thanks to UNO, the Alumni Association for providing the space, and the UNO Foundation and the Legacy Society for Pastry and Coffee. Just a reminder, we are a 501c3 or membership organization, and you know our dues and for all that. Please turn off all your cell phones and put them on mute, airplane, however that may be. If you're attending via Zoom, make sure your microphone is muted. Also, your video is off too. We've had problems with that. Okay, so let's get going. Today we have Robert Freeland. He's a member of LBL, and he's also presented couple times for us. He did the Benito Juarez Cinco de Mayo during the Zoom time. Then last fall he was Governor Galvez speaking to us about the Spanish influence in Louisiana. And he's got a bunch of, I'll let him describe all this stuff, but he is also on the panel for America 250, which is coming up quick in 2 years. And we don't keep going, it'll be here. So and then I know his next project is Brazil. He's from Brazil, and his next project is Brazil is role in World War II. So I'm sure sometime in the future we may hear that as well. So please join us. Robert Freeland.
Thank you. Good night. So yes, I am a member, and I'm here primarily as a member. Thanks for inviting me. I just want to.
Then you got
I need to put the speaker on.
Put it up by your collar.
This by my collar?
Yes.
Can you all hear me? Does it work?
Yeah.
Better than before?
Yes.
Yes. Perfect. So I'm here today as a member of Learning Before Lunch, and I can speak the way I want to. For the Louisiana Division, I do not make decisions. I am the vice chair. So anything that I learn from here, anything I say with you guys, next week at the monthly board meeting, I have to bring it up to the commission. These are opportunities we have. And so this is an important meeting in different ways. So if you don't mind, I want to see what constituents I have here. How many of you are members of Learning Before Lunch? Okay. Second, how many of you are UNO alums? Great. How many of you work for UNO? What department do you work in?
In alumni development.
Perfect. And obviously, Laura, and then here's the third alum. I mean, how many of you are students presently at UNO? So that's a constituent group that I don't have here. I'm going to go to subgroups now because I want everybody to feel part of the presentation. How many of you are members of the Daughters of the American Revolution? How many of you are members of the Sons of the American Revolution? How many of you are members of the Granaderos y Damas de Galvez? John and I are on that. And how many of you are members of the Friends of the Cabildo? So a couple of us, and Keith and I are walking tour guides. We have our own specialty. We can take you to the Cabildo, and then we can take you to the French Quarter and do tours with our specialties. And so those are subgroups to the conversation, yet all of us are part of the America 250 for the country and for the state of Louisiana. Because I can see, how many of you remember 1976 in the bicentennial? Come on, guys. That's what we're repeating 50 years later. And so whatever excitement you had 50 years ago, I was a senior at Tulane University. I still remember, and I still have the Sunday Times Picayune from July 4th, 1976, that I've moved all over the world with, because that's how important 1976 was to me. And if you notice one thing, the Facebook page has the wrong logo. This is the Louisiana America 250 logo. And if you looked at my original presentation until yesterday, I had the old America 250 logo. So bicentennial, say it fast.
Bicentennial.
Say semi-quincentennial fast.
Semi-quincentennial. Fast.
It's a tough one. So what the US did, we're gonna call it America 250 and make it easy on everybody. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about America 250, the concept. I'm gonna sort of remind us about the bicentennial. I'm gonna update you on what the National is doing. I'm gonna update you on what we're doing in Louisiana. This is where I'm gonna paraphrase John F. Kennedy. Ask not what the commission is gonna do for you. Ask what you can do for Louisiana's commission. We need a lot of help, okay? And it's groups like yours that really can make a difference. And then I'm with the Granaderos y Damas de Galvez. And because of that organization, I learned about America 250. And when I learned that Louisiana was creating a commission, I actually went to the Capitol and explained why Louisiana should have an America 250. And I was invited to be on the commission. And so for me, for that, and unfortunately, I'm no longer the governor. Until a couple of months ago, anything I said would have gone. Now I have to work through the board, through the treasurer and other people. So it's a little bit different, but it's a case study. And I'm going to end up with how Learning Before Lunch and UNO can work together. And I have some recommendations. Again, I'm not an alum of UNO, but I am a Learning Before Lunch member. So that's the way the presentation is going to go. In this section, I'm going to go into what pretty much is off the website. And it's more than reflecting on our past. It's also about individuals. It's also what made America, the United States, what it is today in technology and other aspects. But it's also what's going to happen in the next 250 years. Right, so if we go back, in 1976, we really didn't imagine I'm still going to be there in 2026 for the next one, or maybe I did. What's the gentleman that walked out just now? Greg?
Tony.
Tony knows what he's going to do in 20. I asked him to say he couldn't. He knows what he's going to do in 2026. In 1976, he was in Washington D.C. at the Washington Mall in front of the Smithsonian. He's already got it booked for 2026. He's going to go back to the exact same spot. And that's one of the things all of us are, unfortunately, aren't going to be here in 2076. But had we had a lot of UNO students, we could motivate them for the next 50 years, start thinking about the next one, because it's part of a bigger process. Sorry. John made that. I'm gonna not correct John, but I'm gonna emphasize something that John said. He says, "Oh, it's in 2 years." No. It's already been going on for years. We only have 2 years left, and that's part of how we have to catch up. It is the full scope of American history, every aspect. It is not just the American Revolution. It is not just something for the 13 colonies. Now I'm speaking as a Louisiana commissioner. There are 50 American states. I'm in Washington. I have to give 2% of my attention to each state. No. The ones that do the most, that tell the best story, are going to get most of the attention. So the 13 colonies have a foot in because they've always thought of themselves as the first. What are we? We're 18. But are we the 14th most interesting? No. We're better off. I'm talking from Louisiana. We have a better story than Rhode Island, Delaware, and then a couple of those others. So actually, we can move ourselves. And I'm speaking of the member of Learning Before Lunch, not as the Louisiana Commission. So it's also about our future. Past commissions. This is so part of this presentation was put together by people in Baton Rouge. And what I've expanded down on the bottom, there were city bicentennial commissions. I don't know at what point they were formed. There was a big bicentennial in 2012 for statehoods. And so that's sort of some of our board members, commission members, participated in that. And that's the learning experience that is helping our Louisiana Commission go forward. There's no one from the 1976 Commission helping us. What I've done in bold, we're looking for inclusive programs to involve everybody. So I'm not just presenting to you and I'm walking away and I said I did my job for 30 people, 40 people. It's how can I involve you in what we're doing? And it's not just history and George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. It's what do we do in the United States that makes us a great society? And I'm going to give you an example. I'm a volunteer with the Louisiana State Museum. I represent, I used to be in the board of an organization called New Orleans Citizen Diplomacy Council, now Global New Orleans. And I grew up in Latin America. They don't understand what a volunteer is. Whereas in the United States, we have volunteer organizations that without them, many institutions would not survive. Best example, look at UNO, University. Without its alumni association, it would fall apart. I worked for American Express 30 years. I left 17 years ago. If I go back today to New York, they say, so what? I graduated from Tulane in 76. If I appeared today, 48 years after, Tulane would say, welcome back, how can we work together? And check. I don't mind them. I don't think that's because if I'm good, I'll give you money, but I'm going to take money from you, or I'm going to take benefits from you. And that interchange is what makes volunteerism in the US such an important part of the way we do things. It is nonpartisan, and that's an important message here. I can't say for I cannot say for the commission. I can make a comment as a citizen in looking at some of the states that didn't sign up. They must have gotten into political infight because you have to create your own commission. And I can just imagine if you allow politics, party politics into planning, it's never going to work. So what you have to do is pick a subject that's not neutral, positive, and everybody works at it. So the commission was founded in 2016. These are basically the board member. It's got representatives, senators, all types of people. And this list changes constantly, right? So we're in our 8th year of existence. Over time, it has evolved. There is a congressional caucus. And one of the first things we get credit for in Louisiana is when we started our Louisiana Commission, there was no one from Louisiana on the national caucus. We got Senator Kennedy's office involved. You don't need all 8, 6 plus 2. As long as you have one in there. But we have to drill down and we have to make sure, we as a commission, that we also do the same thing with our own state Congress. And then the resources they give us are listed here, and I've expanded the ones that are most interesting to me is everything related to education, engaging people and uniting, and that's what we're doing today. There are national events that are beginning to happen and to be announced. Recently, Bush and Obama and their wives were both designated as co-chairs of the America 250. That is a powerful message. Those two guys, they hate each other or do they love each other? On this program, they're going to love each other, they're going to work together. And that's what America 250 is trying to do. And 2 weeks ago, there was a state and territory convening meeting. Up there are our representatives from Louisiana. Mike Baham is a state representative from St. Bernard. He started out, he got elected in December. So when he began this process, he was not a state representative. Russ Godwin lives in Lake Charles. He is the president of the SAR, Sons of the American Revolution, for the state of Louisiana. And Ray Gravillon is from Lafayette, Louisiana. She's on the board of the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities. So we are a state, and they're the three that went to Washington. And so they met all their others. Now, can you imagine you go into a meeting? They had 93 minutes to present to 49 other states. So what Louisiana does and what Arkansas does and what Kansas does, all you got was a 3-minute soundbite. But they did bring back some new ideas, and we're going to be discussing those next week. So we had to go to Congress in Louisiana and Baton Rouge. This is the process by which a legal commission is created. We had to follow the steps. And these are the different people. So down below, I am the governor. They're gonna, and I will tell you one thing, if any of you are into living history, it pays off. You saw me last year as Galvez. I go into, no one knows who I am. I didn't know anybody. You fill out a little form. When you're at the committee, sorry. You go into the committee, you fill out a little form, Robert Freeland, AKA Bernardo de Galvez, Granaderos de Galvez. I'm dressed in my uniform. There's a whole bunch of state representatives posing laws. There's a committee, and people went in front of me, and then finally I was the third congressman, the third rep. The Granaderos was part of his proposal for America 250. And the head of the committee says, and finally, the man we've been waiting for, please come down. So all of these state representatives, they were excited to see someone in period costume presenting to them. And they all had comments and questions about Bernardo de Galvez. And so I did my job as a granadero with the Congress. They are open. There are committees that we can do a lot with. We have created 4 committees: a finance committee, an events committee, education committee, and a communication committee. I am on the education committee. I'm not the chair. Lauren Davis, who is the head, well, she's one of the head curators at the old governor's mansion in Baton Rouge, highly energetic young lady. She's the chair, but we have someone that represents the Louisiana Association of Museums. We have someone that represents all the schools in Louisiana. So the commission and the education committee that I'm on is a good one. And so this is part of what our work is. Now, we were all excited. Just, I'm going to point out one thing here. We had gotten $100,000 from the state of Louisiana first year, fiscal year. We just got a commitment to the second 100,000. Mike Ray and Russ came back from Washington. I don't know, hearsay, because they told me, and I haven't read it. North Dakota put up $7 million. Now, what does that mean? Is we have so many programs, such a rich history statewide, that it's bits and pieces all over the place. That state, they took advantage. No, everything we're going to do, we're going to throw it under the bucket, America 250. The other thing was I commented was the 13 colonies are way ahead of us because they always do what they've done, right? Their focus is we are part of American history from the beginning. All of their programs reach out to the rest of the country from the beginning. Whereas we in Louisiana, we were Spanish, we were French, we were this, we were that. We have a much more interesting in many ways history, but our focus has always been a little bit disjointed. That's what America 250 will try to do. So this is a recommendation I have for everybody in this audience, and if you can do it on your phone right now, go to the America 250 website, and it prompts you to click in, sign up. You'll start receiving emails from Rosie Rios. You don't like it, you delete it, but they are interesting. Second thing is, it asks you for your zip code. And the more of us from Louisiana that sign up, the more in Washington they're going to say, you know what, Louisiana is committed to the America 250 project. And the same thing, if you find ideas that are happening around the country, we, the Louisiana Commission, should be telling you. And that's the best way we can encourage you to get involved. And there is, right now, if you go to the website, there's another little click. Click here to learn more and share your story. So some of you might feel very proud of something you've done, or you have a relative, go in there and the more from Louisiana that we participate at the national level, the more attention the national is going to pay to us. They just did a survey. Key findings: Americans are proud of the anniversary and think it's important. They're excited. So I'm hoping everybody that came here, you fit that category. As we get closer to 2026, there is room to drive awareness. That's what we have to do. Only 1/3 of Americans are aware of the milestone, not of America 250, but that we are approaching our 250 years. And only 1 in 5 have heard state plans. So we still have a long way to go. Language about the semi-quincentennial resonates most when it talks about the country's progress and going forward. So at the end of this presentation, I'm going to ask LBL, the Learning Before Lunch group and the UNO alum, what can we do together? It's not just the past, it's also about the future. One of the first programs that was launched nationally was a field trip program. It has paid off. Now, what they did was they did it at the national level, 330 million Americans, only like 125 kids won. I believe it was 75, 25 primary, 25 middle, 20. But what they did was they taught us that there is a process in place, and they want each state to create its own field trip program. And those programs we will fill into the national. And then there are some other programs that at the national level, they're beginning to do that we have to roll out in Louisiana. And that would be part of what the commission will update. And then I find this one interesting. Black people and Generation Z also want to acknowledge darker moments of our past. So let's not hide everything. Let's discuss everything. And what are we doing to improve on that past negative is the way to proceed. National events that I can talk about right now that I believe are of interest. The field trip, 2 kids from Louisiana did win. So that's a great news. Why? Because on our education committee, even though they gave us not too much advance notice, on our education committee is one of the people from Louisiana's Department of Education. He left the meeting, went, pushed a button, and every school, parish in the state of Louisiana, every public school knew about the program. That's the quickness with which we can do things. The second thing is, from a American history point of view, Lafayette fought under Washington over there. He did come to New Orleans. Does anybody know when he came here?
1825.
What was 1825 preparing for? The 50th year of American independence. So that is part of the story. And for my UNO, what did we do for the 50th? What did we do for the 100th, the 150th, the bicentennial? There is a program that's the history department could work at it. And because of Lafayette, Louisiana was part of the first 50-year celebration, because Lafayette got off the ship in New Orleans before he went to Washington and elsewhere. And so there is a major program that is going to be known nationwide starting next April. It was April 9th, 1825. He stayed here 3 nights at the Cabildo. Most other places, he stayed less than 24 hours and moved on. They say, that he was so tired out from the 3 days in New Orleans, he slept for 24 hours. So as tour guides, Keith and I know that the Sala Capitular at the Cabildo was where he slept. We don't exactly know where he slept, but he slept in the building, he attended people in the building. And they say one of the important aspects of his visits was 12 years after being a state. 13 years where we French and we Americans and we Spaniards were fighting with each other. Lafayette came and said, no, it's great to be an American. Suck it up, accept being part of a great country. Because I, Frenchmen, fought for them back in the 13 colonies under Washington. And so after he left, it is said that the relations between the French Louisianians and the Americans that had just arrived really improved. So all of this is part of our contribution. The other one that to me is super big is the next one, Sail 250. Hold the date. May 28th to June 1st, the ships, Navy ships from all over the world are going to come to New Orleans. This isn't a local event put on by the local city of New Orleans that doesn't have money to do much. This is something the United States is going to do. Did any of you go on the Spanish sailing ship recently, the Elcano?
Last time it was in, yeah.
So it was here in May. You went in 2004.
Oh, 4.
Did anybody else go recently in May? Okay, John was there. Anybody went when the tall ships were here for the 300 years? How many ships were there?
Great.
Imagine. We're trying to figure out how many ships are going to come for America 250. All these countries, the 3 countries that came for 300 years in New Orleans wanted to impress New Orleans. The rest of the world is going to impress the United States. We don't know yet how many ships are coming in. Can you imagine the impact for the city of New Orleans in tourism and opportunities to have all of those ships? So to me, and we're going to compete with Norfolk, Baltimore, New York City, and Boston, right? And so the marketing for for the tourism industry, this is an opportunity. So the kids that are freshmen, sophomores at UNO's tourism school today, this is the program for them when they graduate in 2026. This is the information about the field trip. Other missions are more advanced than we are. Virginia has a newsletter that comes out every month. Do we reinvent or do we work with DCRT, Department of Cultural Recreation and Tourism, and do something similar? Very easily. Massachusetts always celebrates Concord in 1775. What they're doing is events that they've incorporated into their America 250 planning. This is our information. Don't overly criticize us. We just finally got it going. And that's how we spent the first initial money. So we do have a Facebook page. We do have a website. And I just volunteered 2 days ago. I'm going to start filling the website history section. And that's why I was hoping someone from the history department would be here, because we're all commission volunteers. We really don't do the grunt work. We need to find. And so we're developing a partnership through Ray Grimillon and the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities. But I'd like to get universities involved as well. Right? Because I, as Granaderos, I can make sure all the Galvez information is updated. But there's so much more to Louisiana history. So each month you're going to see a lot of improvements. We did hold some events July 3rd at the Marcha de Galvez mural in Baton Rouge. We did it on a Wednesday, not the Thursday, the 4th, to make sure that enough people showed up. There will be a license starting January 1st for 2 years on America 250. And then we're going to announce the kids that won from Louisiana. And this is the case study for the Grenadiers. This is my objective for the Grenadiers. Every kid in Louisiana is going to know about the Battle of Baton Rouge in 2026. That is a big project. 1976, these are samples of documents that started coming out about Galvez. Louisiana had a bicentennial commission, the National Commission. So whatever you know, whatever you're interested in, Keith's specialty is the Battle of New Orleans. This is an opportunity that we should revive Battle of New Orleans items. And I don't know the rest of you as well. John, I know, plays bridge. 250 years of bridge in New Orleans. I have no idea what you can talk about, but that's the type of ideas that can come from the audience. Again, Galvez and the Bicentennial. Galvez and the Bicentennial. My organization, Grenadiers, was founded in 1975, preparing for. Now, unfortunately, it was founded in Texas, not Louisiana. The Texans have a pride in their history that, and plus they got the population to really move things forward. And at the time, there was a Spanish consul in Houston that was very promoting Spain at the time. Why? Because look at these other organizations that are partner organizations of the Grenadiers that happened at the same time. Sociedad Española in New Orleans, 1975. Los Isleños in St. Bernard, 1976. And in San Antonio, the Canary Island Descendants in 1977. So go back in time, these men and women didn't know what they were doing. But in preparing for the 200 years, they prepared organizations that are still with us today and still active today. So as we're speaking, what organizations can we be creating that will be around 50 years from now? For me, the Grenadiers, the Galvez Theater, all these states, Galvez participated in it. And we don't really think of that as Louisianians, but the Regiment of Louisiana fought as far north as Chicago. So all of these states should be part of our program. Many cities have statues of Galvez. I have to partner with those cities. This is my local partnership organization. I don't have LBL there, but I do have UNO. We have Galvez Plaza in Baton Rouge. It's a nice mural. And we've held some events there. And the event we held last year resulted in the first Louisiana America 250 Commission event. Did they take it away from us? No. We partnered this year. It became a bigger event. And that's the idea of building on different organizations. The Battle of Baton Rouge, 1779. How many of you remember this book? The Louisiana Almanac. It used to be done Pelican Publishing. It's no longer out. For whatever reason, they quit doing it. In this book, the section on Galvez talks about the Battle of Mobile and the Battle of Pensacola, one in 1781 and 1781. It didn't even mention Galvez and the Battle of Baton Rouge. So for me, with the Grenadiers, am I rewriting history when I come to this almanac and put in, let's mention a little blurb on the Battle of Baton Rouge? No. But that's one of the most important things we're doing. This September 14th, we will hold an event like we did last year, even bigger. And 3 days later, the head of the Daughters of the American Revolution for the whole US is coming to Baton Rouge to learn about the Battle of Baton Rouge. And I spoke to someone from the tourism industry. But why is that important that she's coming? Well, 200,000 American women pay attention to what their President General does. They are going to be thinking Baton Rouge, Galvez, American Revolution. Oh, but that's niche marketing. He's used to spending millions of dollars in advertising Bourbon Street. Yeah. It's very different. Get 200,000 women interested in history And you can fill Baton Rouge with high quality people, right? And that's what we are in this audience. We're very interested in history. So I'm going to keep you guys informed on what we're doing in Baton Rouge, and it keeps on getting bigger and bigger. Imagine what it's going to look like in 2026. We've already got all of these partners involved. And then 3 years later, for us in Louisiana, the 250 years of the Battle of Baton Rouge. I have partnered with the Granaderos and my other organization, the Louisiana State Museum and the Friends of the Cabildo, with the education department of the museum. We have a Spanish heritage program. I talked a little bit about it last year. I'd love to have a relation with UNO. Because I have a relation with Tulane, we have LSU in Southern, UL in Hammond, Southeastern. And I'd love to have a relation with UNO in different departments. And you guys, we would love to have you as volunteers for helping us with field trips at the museum. So I don't know if I'm breaking rules by enlisting new members from your audience, but that's the type of relation that America 250 should bring out in all of us groups. So the field trip program is very important. When they come to the Cabildo, rich kids, their parents take them to the French Quarter and the Cabildo. What we've learned with the poor schools, the public schools, their parents never take them to the French Quarter. So the field trip to the museum has other aspects that a regular private school kid doesn't get out of, oh, I come here with my parents anyway. So the program is quite interesting. I also have to be aware now of my organization is 50 years, Sociedad Española 50 years, and each one of these organizations over the next 2 years, we should be sharing and commemorating together. So now I finished the presentation with this group. Okay. Are you the only board member? Does it make sense to form an America 250 committee? If you form the committee, does it make sense for Learning Before Lunch to have its own strategy? UNO alums, do you have an America 250 strategy? You should. And that's my role now as a commissioner, is educating the different constituent groups that I present to, is we can help you. And what is the state doing? How can you participate? We can help you recruit partnerships. We can fundraise, help you fundraise, because we don't have the, again, we were happy with the $100,000 to set up the operation. So we're not giving out money. That's not the focus. But by putting together interesting programs with school groups, kids, education, you can get access to funds. And then UNO, Learning Before Lunch, the Alumni Association, the student body should all have an America 250. So imagine the gentleman, Tony, he already knows in 2026 he's going to Washington. Washington's already prepared. What are we going to do in New Orleans in 2026? Is everybody going to, 100,000 people going to go to the French Quarter? Or do we do a separate program on UNO's campus? You're right by the, you know what I mean? I'm not saying we have to do it, but you've got the stadium over there, you've got the infrastructure to be part of New Orleans America 250 events. Because when those ships come from all over the world, people in all those countries around the US, are you going to go to Delaware, Kansas, or New Orleans to do something for America 250? You're going to come to New Orleans. This is the city that's going to have the most to offer. Cheap food, cheap hotels, cheap music, everything we do on a day-to-day basis. It's such an opportunity for the rest of the world to come. So that's basically the presentation. I end with, I never saw Hamilton, but two of the ladies that are on the commission, I guess they took that. So I don't know if he says in the speech, Does he say it?
It's one of the songs. Songs, yeah.
Okay, so it's appropriate to put it in here, Hamilton is part of 250, he never came to New Orleans. But I like the clause there, and so that's, and I should have swapped out the last logo there, because I did this presentation to the front of the building. But I apologize for that oversight, that's it. Yes. Yeah.
My understanding is that about a third of the undergraduate students here at the university have an Hispanic background or heritage. And I'm wondering if there has been discussion with things such as Spanish language publications, or Hispanic, community leaders at this point. I know that we even have a group of faculty and staff that are doing some focusing on recruiting students of an Hispanic heritage to come to the university as their opportunity. And I'm curious about the outreach right now to the general New Orleans area community with the appreciation of how these demographics have adjusted, particularly since Katrina.
So let me answer the way I would. For me to get an adherence, I'm trying to develop a relation with you now. I haven't been able to do it, right? That's the one, when you say Hispanics, it's a trick question.
Yes.
What is a Hispanic?
Oh, that's a dangerous thing to try and categorize. I know, I understand that. It can be very inclusive.
It's the Latin Americans that came to the United States after we were American and are to become American. What is a Latin American? They still live over there. They are two separate groups. So to your point,
Yeah.
Hispanics might be on the increase, but New Orleans as a city has lost all its connections to Latin America. And that is a challenge I throw to this audience and your student. In the old days before technology, every student that wanted to come to the United States to the university knew about the importance of New Orleans. And so Tulane, Loyola, LSU didn't have to really promote themselves. People came here anyway. With technology, the other schools have slowly taken away a lot of our importance in Latin America. So if you go in the old days in Panama, the Panama Canal Zone existed as part of U.S. territory. But the Court of Higher Appeals for any federal case in the Panama Canal Zone was New Orleans. So if you were from Panama and you wanted to practice law in the Canal Zone, you better come to Loyola, Tulane, UNO, or LSU to learn law, because this is where you're going to come later. Today's maritime law is still very strong. So UNO, I don't know what its strategy is for Hispanics, nor for getting more Latin Americans. So your question has a dual role now. And I can work with the Alumni Association on some ideas. Years ago, when Ray Nagin first became mayor, I was on the board of the Tulane Alumni Association. And they talked about bringing in Tulane alum chapters in Latin America to be part of like an ambassador program. It didn't work out. Nagin went off sideways. Tulane went a different way. But there was a Tulane alumni meet, no, not Tulane, it was LSU alumni chapter party that they were going to hold in Puerto Rico. And people that had gone to LSU had friends that went to Tulane, went to Loyola, went to UNO. They ended up with about 200 people from all the universities in San Juan, Puerto Rico, not from one university, but all of these older people that had a connection to New Orleans. That's something that if you want to partner with UNO and its ex-alums, I can work with Tulane, and that's 3 universities, anybody else helps. Again, that would be the type of project that I would say, to answer your question there. It's doable, but you just have to find people to do it. And I don't know what UNO is doing with Hispanics or with Latin America. So I can't answer more. Any other questions? But you see where there's so much more that we can do. Yes, ma'am.
I just was curious, has Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser been involved at all in this program? Because tourism totally falls under a lot of what he is supposed to do.
Yes, and the answer is yes, every state commission reports into some official. In Louisiana, we voted on DCRT, Lieutenant Governor's structure, to be the head of the Louisiana America 250 Commission. The governor's office does have a representative, the Senate, the House of Representatives. But the DCRT is the entity. So the tourism industry falls under it. And that's what we're working on. So that comment I made about the Battle of New Orleans, Battle of Baton Rouge. You know, you guys are all from New Orleans, right? How many of you go to Baton Rouge for fun things? Oh, I drive by it when I go to Texas. No, I'm stopping. What do you like about Baton Rouge?
I have family in Baton Rouge and, so I have grandkids and so, kids.
So 40 people, only one put up the hand saying I go to Baton Rouge.
Football.
I also have a family of their children and grandchildren.
Like going to Baton Rouge?
Yeah.
That's part of this question, the answer to you is one of the first steps we can do is inside Louisiana. So the office does those staycations, Louisiana, so we've done a great job that way. I'm gonna say there was, 2 years ago, I was at a meeting, Capital Park Museum in Baton Rouge. And there was a change in the agenda, and say Nungesser was supposed to speak to an audience. And when he got there, the prior group was a bunch of kids. And they had not left. So he comes in and he speaks to about 30 kids in the audience and he explains who he is, the lieutenant governor. I have state parks. Why don't you have zip drives in the state parks? We've got zip drives in the state parks now. So that I can't guarantee that it was from that moment when some kid chewed him out for not having.
Acting up to date on TikTok.
So yes, the tourism industry, in a way, Keith and I are history nerd involved in the tourism industry. Louisiana has, so to your point, yeah, we have to work with them. It's focused on Bourbon Street. Nothing wrong with Bourbon Street. Let the drunks go there, spend their $50, $100, and then leave town. But more things like Julia Street, World War II Museum, Battle of New Orleans, Battle of Baton Rouge. Those are the events that are really going to bring in audience, our age group, our socioeconomic background that want to spend. And it's again, what 0.5 there that younger people and black people want more. How many of you have been to the Civil Rights Museum, which is now at the Civil Rights Museum, the one recently opened at the Convention Center? How many of us have been to our African American Museum, which opens, closes, opens?
Yes.
So we're very inconsistent in some of the things we do. And so there's so much more that if we put together, so to your answer, yes, he's involved. But it's a tough one to, he's not a dictator, right? If you lived in Cuba, you could say everybody has to participate in America 250. We're in a democracy and it's a little bit more complicated. But we'll get there. And so again, that's beyond, unless you have friendship with Billy Nungesser. What can we do with learning before lunch and UNO alumni in this university? That's a first step with this group. The other thing is Keith and I have to talk about now what are we going to do for the Battle of New Orleans. I've already done this presentation with the Friends of the Builder. We have a committee. John and I sit on the board of the Granadiers for Louisiana. It's part of our strategy. Which other organizations do each one of you represent? Go back to those organizations and start talking about America 250. And that's the way to get the word out.
What about the Historic New Orleans collection? Have they joined in this effort?
Not correct. So I'm a full-time volunteer. I don't work 40 hours a week for the America 250 Commission. I go bit by bit getting out. When the Elcano came in, we the Granadiers learned about it. We contacted the Spanish embassy in Washington. And said, and I'm with a friend with Little, so I sent him 2 letters. Just changing the wording. We want to be part of the host committee. HNOC was part of the host committee. That was not America 250 specific. But at the America 250 meeting, we did say that the arrival of Elcano as a Spanish Navy ship should serve as an example for what's going to be done in 2026 for Sail 250. Daniel Hammer is the head of the HNOC. A couple of months ago, he came out in Biz, that business-related magazine from New Orleans. And he says New Orleans should be a city of museums. The tourism industry, right? So everybody is more or less the concept. Everybody's focused on culinary. You have culinary schools. We have a cafe reconciled to keep kids out of trouble and teach them how to be chefs. Then we have Tale of the Cocktail bartenders. Once the World War II Museum opened up in New Orleans, that revolutionized museums. The National Museum is here. And look how successful they just built their own hotel. And what it's done is all of us other museums, we now have to catch up because they've taught us new ways of doing things. And the other thing is they've attracted a quality of tourists that is interested in museums. That tourist might not even go to Bourbon Street. And again, nothing wrong with Bourbon Street. There's a whole set for that. But there's a new segment coming to New Orleans and Daniel Hammer's behind. So yes, but not in America 250. That's the next step. This is the 3rd time I've done this presentation. Next week, I'm going to propose that this becomes part of the education committee. So I'm going to have to list myself. I'm going to have to start booking myself to go to many other organizations. So I appreciate it. You're the 3rd group I've done this to. It's not the first one, but you're helping me out.
Well, I just wanted to refer back to the mission statement you put up there about America 250 and all that. And it focused on democracy, the term democracy. And it seemed to me that almost everything that is done under the rubric of this, including your 4 committees, has to focus on the democracy. How did we get it? Why is it continued? And then when you make the big effort to talk about the future, it's not just the past. America 250 is about the future. It seems to me that has to focus on democracy. It has to focus on the abysmal voting record that we have in this country in terms of people who vote, register to vote, can vote. And so all of the parts and pieces of this seem to me have to focus somewhat. They have to lead to democracy in the discussion of it and the education of it and the history of it. And then in the future, where is our democracy going to go? And where do we want it to go? And how do we get it?
If you don't mind, let me reverse the question here then. What is your interest with democracy? What do you do business-wise or other organization-wise? Can you bring in an organization?
I'm a retired park manager, park manager. Yeah, okay. So anyway, I'm just gonna be sitting retiring.
So, no, I understand that. Let me just,
And he's a planner. He's a member of APA, American
Right.
Planning, is a
Yeah.
doctorate in planning.
so,
I'm his publicist.
Got the hook here.
like I said, when I host these foreign visitors for Global New Orleans, I always have my, property taxes, right? In the back, it tells you how much I spend on the park and all that. And foreigners always say, you don't trust your government to spend the money properly? No. That is something about the American way of doing things. That you're right. Now, I've got other projects. Did you just volunteer to take over the democracy project?
I'm all over that.
So, again, point taken, it's in the back of my mind, not in the front of my to-do list. But there are aspects of what we do as a country. And again, you know, I grew up in Brazil. You know how people say, I vote for who I like, not for the party? 14 parties run for president. And the prior president, Bolsonaro, was a member of 8 different parties over his political career. That's what you get when you vote for who you like and not for your party. So there's a whole, and you know, so there are comparisons. That's beyond what I do. That would be partnering with UNO's political science department. Right? And so this is the UNO audience. Let's get the political science. We put together a program and we go out to the school kid. And who are the most important ones? Public schools, like juniors and seniors that in a year are going to start voting. And I deal a lot with public schools, so I mean sometimes you're presenting in 6 weeks, these kids are out. There's no safety in that, right? You're considered adults, and so that would how I would tie what you just said with UNO. And then I was gonna get an LBL member to spearhead it, but he ducked out on me. And that's the process. But we gotta find someone else. You start making the linkages and then it happens, right? And I don't, if there was someone from UNO's political science department, they might tell us, oh, we have a program, we have a community project. So every idea is valid. I take it down, I now have something in the back, so thanks again. I know that John's rushing me out of here.
I'm gonna close it out.
But
So just a couple things. One is, as always, you do get a learning before lunch umbrella. You know, you've got a few of these now.
First time I did a Zoom.
Oh, I got you that one.
Okay.
You had lunch, I brought you that. We've known each other for a while. Once again, thanks to UNO and Alumni Association and everything. And next, do you want to tell us about the next one?
Next month, September, we will have Kathy Anderson here. She plays a part as and professional service. Anyway, she also runs a music therapy program and has a degree in that. And she's gonna come talk to us about how music plays a role in our, I guess I call it mental well-being. And how it has helped cure people, particularly people that are in the hospital or nursing homes or what have you. Should be a very interesting program to learn how music helps us.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody.
So all I can do is get my jump drive.
More from one we get this too.
Thank you. Done.
Here.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Okay, so. It's interesting.